hiatus, but we're back. I'm Officer Paulus, currently assigned to Community Outreach Unit of Las Cruces Police Department, and I'm here with the City of Las Cruces Inspector General, Mr. Charles Tucker. Mr. Tucker, thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here.
So, Mr. Tucker, can you elaborate a little on what exactly you do and is your title?
Sure, I'm the Inspector General for the city. The city's Inspector General is the person that's tasked to look at fraud, waste, and abuse within the city. It can come from monies that are misappropriated, equipment that's not being used properly, people misusing vehicles. It's anything that has to do with fraud, waste, and abuse within the city falls under my purview.
Okay. All right, and I believe you have a little PowerPoint presentation you're going to share with us. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, want to take us through it?
Okay. Okay. So I'll talk first about the concept of operation, the establishment of the Inspector General, my role as the Inspector General within the City of Las Cruces, and then the IG sphere of activity. So next slide, please. So the IG concept and operation, Division 6, Accountability and Government, is what established the Inspector General. There was I believe an investigation that was done by a McCard report. And one of the things that came out of that investigation was they felt that we needed to establish somebody within the city that was looking at fraud, waste, and abuse within the city. So that's where the IG came from. So establishment of the Office of the Inspector General, there shall be within the city a full-time Inspector General. The organization and administration of the Inspector General shall be sufficiently independent to assure that no interference or influence will adversely affect the independence and objectivity of the Inspector General.
Mouthful.
Yes, sir. So my job is to investigate fraud, waste, and abuse of city resources. And the resources include city funds, property, employees, and services. So we'll go through what is fraud. Fraud, waste, and abuse. Fraud, obtaining something of value through willful misrepresentation. Waste is the act of using or expending resources carelessly, extravagantly, or to no purpose. And abuse, behavior that is deficient or improper when compared with the behavior that a prudent person would consider a reasonable and necessary business practice, given the facts and circumstances. So that is a lot. When we look at fraud, waste, and abuse, I try to break it down. I don't get involved. A lot of people will call the IG. I was an IG in the United States Army, and I served as a civilian IG out of White Sands Missile Range for a while. And the Army's IG role is a little bit different than the role that I serve here. Here, I strictly focus on fraud, waste, and abuse. An Army IG has 4 roles. They do investigations, inspections, teach and train, and assistance. So people would come to the IG if they don't know where to go, if they have a problem or something like that. So I did that for 17 years after I got out of the Army.
Okay.
And I was an IG on active duty for 2 years, so a total of 19 years. I served as an IG before coming to this role, and I've been here for almost a year and a half now.
Hey, so you have a load of experience coming into here. That's good.
As an Army IG.
As an Army IG, yeah. And that's I'm more familiar with the Army side of that when it comes to the IG and IG complaints.
That's right.
So it's to find out like the city has what it's like. I wonder, it's the same thing. Is it not the same thing? But
almost, but not quite. We're probably there's only one person in my office right now, so I do administrative investigations similar to the IA officers. So I don't do criminal. Everything that's criminal will be referred to LCPD or to a state police agency or something along that line. I don't do criminal investigations. And in the process of doing a fraud, waste, or abuse investigation, we always give the police department the chance to do the investigation prior, because we don't want an administrative investigation to mess up a criminal investigation. So I always give you guys right of first refusal, and I'll stand stand by and wait for you guys to finish your criminal investigation before I start or finalize our fraud investigation or waste or abuse.
Gotcha.
So we'll talk about how I get complaints.
That was gonna be my next question.
Okay.
So, and I like to remind the viewers too, if you have any questions, please set them out on your social media platforms and we can get those answered.
Fantastic. So the biggest way I get complaints is through the hotline. So the hotline system, we have it at the city. It's called NavX. A majority of our complaints come through that. The hotline committee, which is I chair, reviews every complaint that comes through. Anybody can use that hotline and do it anonymously. There's no way for me to find out who's making the complaints. And nor will we attempt to track somebody down either way. But it does give me the ability to communicate back and forth with the people through the hotline system. The city also has a board of ethics. Complaints can come from there. It can come from city employees. It can come from residents or anyone with a complaint against the city. So, and I'm authorized to investigate municipal matters that involve elected and appointed officials, employees, municipal agencies and instrumentalities, contractors, their subcontractors and lower tier subcontractors, and any other party doing business with the city or receiving city funds. Now, what can the IG investigate? The IG can undertake a formal investigation of any manner if it appears to the Inspector General that such manner falls within the scope of responsibility described in the Division 6, the Accountability and Government Ordinance, primarily fraud, waste, and abuse of city resources.
So going back to who can, I guess, make the complaints, what platform is used for that? Is it like something on the website or an email?
Well, what we do now is I have an office in City Hall, so people can call me. My point of contact will be on the last slide of this. People can call me. They can come in and see me. I have an office there. I also maintain an office in the BMO building down off Main Street on the corner of Las Cruces and Main. And I'm in that office Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings from 8:30 in the morning until noon. And there's a lot of people that when I first came here to the city stated they wanted to talk to me, but they weren't comfortable coming into City Hall because of the amount of cameras that are everywhere in City Hall. So I requested an office outside of City Hall, and we found one in the BMO building. Okay. So I have an office there. I also do go out to the Sage Cafe, the second and fourth Thursday of every month from 1 o'clock till 3. And I go out to the Frank O'Brien Pippin Community Center the first and third Friday of every month. And I'm out there from 1 o'clock to 3. Good. So anybody can come see me. Anybody can bring me a complaint.
Okay. No, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but can you give an example of what someone would I guess, your most common complaints?
So a lot of my complaints so far have been, that's a good question, because I don't want to give you anything we're currently working on right now.
I wasn't trying to stump you on that. I was curious.
Yeah, I'll have, city equipment that will come up missing has been some of the stuff that I've looked at. Damage to vehicles and trying to determine whether the damage was done through gross negligence or if it was just an accident. We have certain steps that have to be followed when equipment is either especially vehicles, when vehicles are damaged, that we have our safety officers, or their safety specialists have to come through and they have to do an initial report on the investigation or on the incident. And we can look at those incidents when it happens That way, and a lot of times they'll be the first people to look at the accident. So when they go out and they do their investigation, they'll call me in afterwards to come take a look at something that doesn't seem right. And then it's up to me to determine whether this was done through gross negligence or if it was done on a truly an accident.
Okay.
So some things I won't look at. IGs will not investigate criminal acts. The IG will refer the complaint to the appropriate prosecuting authority or law enforcement agency, which is what I do with a lot of our complaints right now, especially if it's criminal to begin with. The IG will not investigate anything in the jurisdiction of police or fire department internal affairs. The IG will refer anything that warrants an audit to the Office of Internal Audit, and the IG will not investigate complaints of discrimination, labor law, or threatened or pending litigation. Yep. So there's certain things I can't get involved in just because somebody else has that aspect. So how to contact the IG? Here we go again. Hotline system. That's our number one. You can always call me on my cell phone. You can call me on my city phone. You can come by the city hall and ask for me, and they'll locate me. If I'm down at the BMO building, they'll send you there. If not, then they'll walk you upstairs to where I'm located, or I'll come down and see you. Our offsite location visits, I have, again, the Frank O'Brien Papin Community Center, the Sage Cafe, and I have that office at the BMO building. Or you can email me, and my email address will be on that card at the very last slide. There we go. Our offsite locations. First floor, off Main in BMO building downtown. So right across the street from Grounded. If you're standing at the door of Grounded and you look at the BMO building, that's my entrance in the back, right there off of Main Street. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 to 12. Frank O'Brien Papin Community Center. First and third Fridays every month, 2 to 4. And Sage Cafe, second and fourth Thursday of every month, 2 to 4. Okay. So some things that I ask first before anybody comes to see the IG, just like when I was on active duty or when I was in working on White Sands Missile Range. And please don't use the hotline to report issues that are not IG appropriate. Make sure you have a problem and it's not just a peeve. I've had people complain that people weren't flushing the toilets in City Hall. That's not an IG issue. Or if you have a problem with another employee, you should talk to your supervisor. Use your managers, use the directors. They're there for that as well. That's because if it comes to me, I'm going to have to refer it back to them anyways. Don't jump straight to the IG.
So pretty much handle it at the lowest level possible.
Please.
Better build up.
Yeah. Remember, the IG does not make policy. If you don't like the policy, talk to your director. I can only enforce what's in writing. I can only resolve a case on the basis of fact. So if you come in and you tell me your long story and it's not true, I am going to end up not being able to help you. So now, and I know that there's at least two sides to every story. So do not expect instant action and be prepared to take a no. Sometimes it does take me a while to get through a case. I can't resolve a case if I don't have all the evidence. So it takes a while. And unlike criminal, I don't do beyond a reasonable doubt. I investigate through to preponderance of evidence. So if I have 50.8% of my evidence that's gathered that says that this did happen, then that's what we'll do. Anonymity. So I will always strive to maintain anonymity. I cannot guarantee it. If somebody finds out that you came to talk to me, you're still protected. But I will never tell, if you ask for anonymity, I will always strive to protect it. I just cannot guarantee it. So the best way to do it, if you really want to remain anonymous, is go through the hotline, because it's almost impossible to figure out who that person is that's making the complaint if they use the hotline system. And I can actually respond back to you and send you requests for more information and stuff like that without ever knowing who you are. So
Which one do you prefer, like when taking a complaint?
I would prefer the person to come in and talk to me. I always deal better face to face with people. My orbit, sorry. Yeah, sometimes it's easier to gather all the information when the person is sitting right in front of you than getting it piecemeal through a hotline system and then having to go back and ask for more and ask for more and ask for more. But I do get some pretty good hotline complaints that come in, and people are really thorough when they fill those things out. And I don't need to reach out a lot of times to gather more information. But again, I would prefer to have somebody come in and talk to me. That's just, I'm a people person, so I think I try to be easy to talk to, and I'd rather have somebody sitting in front of me talking and telling me what's going on.
Yeah, that does make sense. Like, I feel like it kind of avoids the whole like today, especially when you're going email, gotta wait for the email.
Yeah. Instead of dragging something out, I have them all right in front of me. So, and again, the sphere of activity for the Inspector General, all city property, personnel, services, and all our resources. So I can look at anything within reason as long as it involves the city. So in summary, did I go too fast? Am I going too fast?
Fine.
Okay.
We're tracking.
Okay. So we talked about the establishment of the Inspector General, the role of the IG, and the IG sphere of activity. So I'm going to give you a little history on the IG. The Army was the first place where we had an IG here in the United States. The first effective IG was Frederick von Steuben, who was a Prussian officer that was recruited in Europe by Benjamin Franklin. And we had two prior IGs in the Army, and I can't remember who they were, but they were more worried about making themselves famous and making themselves rich. And General Washington fired both of them. And so they brought von Steuben over from Europe, from Prussia. He was Benjamin Franklin sold him as a general, and when in fact he was only a captain in the Prussian army. So he came over, spoke no English. He had somebody translate for him, but he was able to speak French. So he did everything in French through a translator who passed it on. And he was one of the first ones. He established the Blue Book, which was used in the United States Army all the way up until I believe the 1950s. So or maybe it was the 60s, I can't remember. But he established the Blue Book. He was in charge of inspecting the troops. So he put that type of aspect into the Army. He set a standard that the Army strived to keep. He figured that he also developed this thing called train the trainer. So he did the train the trainer thing where he brought people from all the different units that were there at Valley Forge, and he trained them on the idea that they would go back to the units and further train their units. So he was a false multiplier kind of guy. Couldn't speak any English. And of course, the first things that he learned working with the soldiers was all the cuss words. So he learned how to cuss in English before he learned how to speak English. Yeah, it's great. Go around soldiers, that's the first thing everybody learns. Yeah. But yeah, he served as the first effective Inspector General for the United States Army. So the Army has had an Inspector General in its system for well over 200 years. Since prior to the Revolution, or during the Revolutionary War, and the IG became, through the Vietnam War and everything else, it became a black hat type of IG, where they inspected units for readiness, and they did not. Major General Thomas Conway was the very first IG. Thank you. So, yeah, and he got fired shortly afterwards, if I remember correctly. Yeah. But yeah, he did. Okay, but the The black hat IG concept was they would inspect a unit, but not, their whole point wasn't to make the unit better. It was to find problems within those units. So it was not when IGs came around, it was not a pleasant thing. So back in I think it was in the early 80s, they decided that they were going to change the role of the IG, and the IG would become more of a white hat IG, where they would do inspections of units, but not compliance inspections. And I believe the last IG inspections the last IGs that were doing compliance inspections was in the 82nd Airborne Division, where they were doing the DRF-1 takeovers. When a unit would get inspected by an IG team would come down and inspect everything. And of course, the unit had to maintain a certain percentile of readiness, I think like 92% or something, before they could assume mission. And so it behooved the commander to make sure that his unit was super squared away before the IGs came in there. And they would do practice runs prior to make sure that everything was straight. So when the IGs finally came in, they inspected everything, on the turn stop bolts on the Humvee tires to the amount of weapon systems that were up and operating before, and they had to have a certain level of readiness before they could assume mission. And DRF-1 is, of course, the division ready force. They're anywhere in the world within 18 hours. So that's a little bit of history of the IG. So now I know that's not the kind of IG that the city has.
Yeah.
I'm not doing readiness inspections, but this is, mine is strictly fraud, waste, and abuse. So I've been tasked to protect the taxpayers' monies and make sure that we're good fiscal agents for the city of Las Cruces.
Well, I appreciate what you do. So my next question would be, coming from the military and then coming to our city of Las Cruces, would you say, I guess would your job be somewhat easier in a sense, or?
Not easy. I thought when I retired from the Army in 2006 after 22 years, and I went straight into a job as a civilian on Fort Knox, Kentucky, being an IG. And the learning curve was not as bad. So I could go from being the hardest part was just realizing that people do not listen to you when you tell them what to do when you're a civilian versus when I was in the Army. Mm-hmm. But the learning curve coming from the military as either a soldier or a civilian, and then coming to a city entity, a municipality, that learning curve I was not expecting. This has been a hard transition to get through, because I was not, for me, this is the most difficult, was going from the military, and then coming to a civilian entity. Yeah, this was difficult. So.
I imagine.
Well, you being in the military too, so I mean, you kind of see it as well.
I definitely see it.
You go from, where you walk in and it's a structured environment, and you tell people what to do, and everybody knows their job and they do what they're told, and in most cases, but it's a great environment. You work well. We are designed in the military to learn our jobs, develop our subordinates. We take care of our soldiers. We provide the guidance when necessary. And in some cases, you're dealing with 17, 18, 19-year-old kids. And, they make the same mistakes any 17, 18, 19-year-old kid makes. It's our job to keep them safe. It's our job to make sure they're trained. And when the president calls, they're ready to do their job, no matter where they're asked to go. So it's a little bit different here. We're not dealing with that type of environment. It's not as structured. We're not, there's not certain steps in your, well, maybe in the police force there is. You guys have leadership stuff that you have to do as you move through. But in most cases, people learn as they get promoted up within their directorate. But it's not a structured environment like the military is. No.
Makes sense. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up. So I appreciate you coming, Mr. Tucker.
Well, it was
and,
my pleasure.
sharing your experiences and kind of educating all of us on the whole IGA concept. Like I said, I coming from the military, I only knew that IGA, and the hear it coming, on the civilian side, the city side, it makes a lot of sense, So like I said, I appreciate everything you do, and thanks for stopping by.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.